In 1502, Leonardo da Vinci stopped work on his most ambitious flying machine design and destroyed every trace of it. Not just abandoned it, destroyed it. Burned pages, scratched out sketches. 3 weeks later, soldiers working for Cesare Borgia ransacked his workshop. They were looking for something specific. Documents, plans, proof. When they didn't find what they wanted, Borgia sent a letter to the Vatican. One line stands out. The inventor has hidden what we discussed. The matter is more urgent than military advantage. More urgent than military advantage? The Borgias were obsessed with weapons. So what could be more important than a flying war machine? The answer isn't in what Leonardo built. It's in what he accidentally discovered while trying to build it.
Leonardo da Vinci filled over 13,000 pages of notebooks during his lifetime. He documented everything obsessively. His grocery lists, his failed experiments, his embarrassing mistakes. But in 1502, pages started disappearing from his codex on flight. Not lost, not misplaced, removed with surgical precision. Here's what we know. Researchers studying Leonardo's notebooks in the 1960s discovered something strange. In his codex on the flight of birds from 1505, there are page numbers that skip. Folio 7 jumps to folio 11. 4 pages missing. The binding shows tear marks, clean edges, deliberate removal. But here's the weird part. In letters between Leonardo and his patron, Lorenzo de' Medici, there are references to the great bird design of 1502. That's 3 years before the Codex on Flight even exists. So Leonardo was working on flying machines earlier than the official timeline suggests. And those earlier designs, completely gone. Let's look at what disappeared. The workshop inventory from 1502 lists mechanical wings, large apparatus that never appear in any surviving notebooks. Francesco Melzi, Leonardo's student, mentions in a 1503 letter seeing master's attempt at artificial flight. No drawing exists. Isabella d'Este's correspondence references Leonardo showing her The Secret of Birds in 1502. Never documented Vatican records show a sudden investigation into Leonardo for natural philosophy beyond theology. In late 1502, charges mysteriously dropped, all pointing to 1502. The same year, everything disappears. So what was Leonardo designing that year that he couldn't afford to keep?
This land will be mine.
To understand what happened, you need to know who Cesare Borgia was. He wasn't just a military commander. He was the Pope's son. A man who united Italy through ruthless strategy. And in 1502, he hired Leonardo da Vinci as his chief military engineer. Leonardo's job: design weapons, siege engines, fortifications, death machines, and Leonardo delivered designs for tanks, machine guns, explosive shells. He was brilliant at making tools for killing. But then something changed. August 1502, Leonardo arrives at Borgia's court, begins work immediately. September 1502, first flying machine sketches appear. Military applications discussed. October 1502, abrupt silence. No new designs. Leonardo requests time for study. November 1502, Borgia's soldiers search Leonardo's quarters. Nothing taken, but workshop is examined. December 1502, Leonardo leaves Borgia's service suddenly. Takes only personal effects. Leaves all military work behind. January 1503, Borgia writes to the Pope complaining about the Florentines' betrayal of our understanding. What understanding? What happened in October? Here's where it gets interesting. Giovanni Giacomo Caprotti, known as Salai, Leonardo's most trusted apprentice, kept a diary. Most of it is mundane. Daily expenses, errands, gossip. But there's one entry from October 18th, 1502. Master was awake all night. The wing calculations revealed something he did not expect. He said the birds know a secret that man should not learn through war. He is frightened. I have never seen him frightened. The wing calculations revealed something. Not the wing design. The calculations. Leonardo was trying to solve human flight by studying birds. He measured wingspan, wing loading, flapping frequency. He did the math, and the math didn't work. Human-powered flight with flapping wings is impossible. Our muscle-to-weight ratio can't generate enough force. Leonardo's calculations would have proved this. So he failed? That made him destroy his work? No, because there's a second part to that diary entry that's usually cut off in translations. He said the birds do not fly by strength. They fly by knowing something about the air itself, something the church says is not there. What could Leonardo have discovered about air that the church denied existed?
In 1502, the official position of the Catholic Church was that air was a perfect, unchanging element, uniform, passive, incorruptible. This wasn't just science, it was theology. The perfection of the heavens extended down through the air to the earth. Any suggestion that air had properties, behaviors, flows, that challenged divine order. Leonardo's bird studies would have revealed something the church couldn't accept. Air moves. Air has currents. Air has pressure. Air is dynamic. He discovered aerodynamics. Lift. Bernoulli's principle, though he wouldn't call it that for another 200 years. Look at what Leonardo writes after 1502 in his later notebooks. Drawings of air vortices behind wings. Studies of how birds soar without flapping. Notes about resistance of air being greater below the wing. Observations of rising warm air currents. He understood flight. Not human-powered flight. Real flight. The physics of lift. And that understanding meant admitting that air wasn't a perfect passive element. It meant the church was wrong about the nature of the heavens. But Cesare Borgia didn't care about theology. So why did he want Leonardo's discovery so badly? Because Leonardo's calculations didn't just prove human flight was impossible with flapping wings. They proved it was possible with fixed wings and controlled airflow. Imagine you're Cesare Borgia in 1502. Your enemies are behind castle walls. You can't reach them. Now imagine Leonardo da Vinci shows you a design for a glider that could carry a man over those walls. Silently. At night. To open the gates from inside. That's not a weapon. That's a war ender. That's unstoppable. But Leonardo realized something else. To explain how the glider worked, he'd have to publish his discoveries about air, the aerodynamics, the lift principles. And that meant challenging the church's cosmology, putting his name on heresy. Borgia didn't care. The Pope would protect him. But Leonardo knew better. You don't contradict the Vatican and survive, even with powerful patrons. So Leonardo had to choose. Give Borgia the ultimate weapon and risk being declared a heretic, or destroy the evidence and walk away. He understood flight. Not human-powered flight. Real flight. The physics of lift. And that understanding meant admitting that air wasn't a perfect passive element. It meant the church was wrong about the nature of the heavens. Here's what we know happened next. In November 1502, there was a fire in Leonardo's workshop. Small, contained to one corner, the corner where his flying machine apparatus was stored. Official report: candle accident, no injuries, minor damage. But here's what's strange. Leonardo didn't report the fire. His landlord did. Leonardo claimed he wasn't even there that night. And after the fire, the mechanical wings from the inventory list, gone. The large apparatus, gone. The last time Salai mentions the flying machine in his diary, it read, "Master burned the calculations tonight. He said some knowledge is too dangerous to exist. He said Icarus was not punished for flying too high, but for flying at all, for proving that men could touch the realm of heaven. I do not understand." Leonardo didn't just hide the design. He erased it, because the design proved something that couldn't be proven in 1502 Italy. But the Vatican didn't forget. In 1519, when Leonardo died, Vatican officials were among the first to inventory his possessions. They were looking for something specific, the same thing Borgia's soldiers had searched for. They found thousands of pages of notes, but nothing on aerodynamics, nothing on the principles of flight. And the church never pursued charges of heresy against Leonardo. Why? Because there was no evidence. Leonardo had succeeded in erasing it completely. The ultimate irony. Leonardo da Vinci, history's greatest inventor, successfully invented fixed-wing flight in 1502, and then unmade it, destroyed it, burned it, removed it from history. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. Because explaining how it worked meant proving the church wrong about the nature of reality itself. So if Leonardo destroyed everything, how do we know any of this happened? Because he couldn't bring himself to destroy it all. He was too much of an artist. In Leonardo's Codex Atlanticus, a collection of his miscellaneous drawings, there's a page numbered 858R. It's a study of bird anatomy, wing structure, bone density, and in the margin, barely visible, there's a small sketch. Most people assume it's a decorative bird drawing, but if you look closely, it's not a bird. The wings are rigid, fixed position. The body is streamlined. There's a small human figure inside. It's a glider, with fixed wings. The exact opposite of every other flying machine Leonardo ever drew publicly. And at the bottom, written backwards, Leonardo's preferred method, not by strength, but by knowing. In 2009, British engineers built a working glider based on that marginal sketch, using only materials and techniques available in 1502. It flew, over 100 meters, stable, controlled. Leonardo's design worked. Even the tiny sketch in the margin was functional. He couldn't destroy the idea completely. He hid it in plain sight, disguised as a casual doodle, hoping someday, in a world where questioning the church wasn't heresy, someone would understand. The Borgias wanted a weapon. The church wanted obedience. Leonardo wanted truth. And when he realized he couldn't have all three, he chose survival. But Leonardo's invention didn't die that night. Someone just had to make sure it reached the right people at the right time.
This wing structure feels lighter than expected. The bracing wires are taut, but the frame, it bends just a fraction. We need to reinforce this joint. Wind resistance will test it. But first, let's see how it behaves in air. Then we build the next one, stronger.
This is it, the design. It matches our calculations exactly. We could have built this years ago. Look at the angles, Wilbur. The lift coefficient is perfect.